Hey, what's up, guys? Tony here. And this episode of Tuesdays with Tony is going to be very political in nature. And that's because as you're watching this, it is election day for us here in the States. And hopefully if you guys are voting age, you guys have gone out and gone to the polls and voted. Or if you're watching this earlier in the day, maybe you'll go out to the polls afterwards and do your civic duty and vote. Or maybe you're like myself. I'm an absentee voter here in California. So they mail me my ballot like 2 months before the election. You know, I got mine, like literally 2 months ago or maybe a month ago or so in the mail. So I've been actually sitting on it for a while, and finally it was last week sometime I saw it. I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? I got to vote. So I voted early, and I heard that there's a lot more absentee ballots this year than a lot of other places. So it's just one of those comforts, I guess. I've registered that way when I registered to vote here back in San Diego County. And it makes it just 1,000 times easier just to be able to vote via mail. And I guess, you know, and that's the thing is like some people like to go to the polling stations, you know, they get the sticker like, hey, I voted. And then, you know, they wear it proudly on their chest, which is cool. That's really cool. I don't get anything cool like that. I just vote in there. I vote and I wait for the election night numbers to roll in. And then tomorrow night sometime, I think it's about 9 o'clock is when the polling stations close here in California. And then, of course, we got to wait till about midnight when the polling stations close in Alaska and Hawaii. And then that's when they kind of know. They'll know who's going to be president probably by about the time that California closes, which is kind of unfortunate because if you live in Alaska and Hawaii, and if you say vote for, you know, President Obama or you vote for Mitt Romney and the election results come in and you're like, well, that sucks because this guy's already locked up the 270 electoral college votes that it takes to become president. And I mean, like, why bother counting Hawaii and Alaska, you know? So it kind of sucks. But that's sort of the nature of the beast. It's not a popular vote. We got that very cool electoral college that a lot of people critique nowadays about whether or not it is a system that we should keep or maybe we should just go ahead and abolish it. But what I want to talk about is one thing really quick. I know there's a lot of people out there who aren't big voters. There are people, they just don't register to vote because they just either they think their vote doesn't count, or they just don't see that there's somebody to vote for. I hear the lesser of two evils, you know, they're like, someone's like, I'm picking Mitt Romney or whatever, you know, or President Obama, you know, because he's the lesser of two evils. And we've got these two choices. And so people aren't really thrilled on the number of choices that we have for president. And I can understand that because where I stand, my personal belief is I don't like this setup that we have going on right now. I do not like the two-party system. I really want to see a strong third party come up and really force these other two parties to be more in line, be more moderate, be more in line with what I think the average American wants. Because right now, obviously, this is a period of time where we have very polarized politics, polarized cable news networks, polarized population, the citizenry is polarized, and it's a tough time right now because there are very strong feelings on both sides of the aisle about what should be done with this country and the best vision for that country. And the thing that drives me up the wall is that both sides think that they're absolutely right. Like there's no possible way that anything could be done any other way besides A or B, or I guess I should say red and blue because that's what really it is. It's just red and blue. So my issue with politics right now is I'm really tired of this two-party system that we have going on. I'm waiting sort of eagerly for the Libertarian Party to become more popular. And I think we'll see that maybe in the next 20 years. Maybe in the next 20 years, we might have ourselves a strong enough third party that they might be able to win office. So I'm sort of counting down the days for that to happen. What else I want to talk about, and I got into this debate with my dad, and I'm not very political, and that's why I don't like to do sort of any political commentaries because, one, like I said, I'm not very political. I have my opinions, but they're just sort of my opinions. They're not really researched and, anything like that. So I can't really, when some people start, quoting numbers and things they hear on the news or read on the internet, or maybe reading the paper. Like, God, people read papers still. But things that they hear and they research and they find out, they present these facts like, well, what about this Halliburton or whatever these companies that apparently like one of the companies that President Obama had invested in with federal money to build green energy, I guess went under. He put in like $5 million or whatever, and then they just didn't produce anything. And so whenever I do talk to my parents about it, because my parents are very Republican, and I'm very moderate, but I lean to the left a little bit. So my parents think I'm just like bleeding hearts liberal, 47%, like out to, suck the teat of the government, which is really just like, come on, Mom, Dad, you guys know me better than that. But the I caught myself on quite of a tangent there just now. But anyways, the point is going back to what I was talking about with my dad the other night. Actually, it was last week or so. I said, you know what, Dad, I'm really sick and tired of watching the same rhetoric on TV right now, which is basically during the debates, like, President Obama, what are you going to do if elected to create more jobs? And then Mitt Romney, what are you going to do if elected to create more jobs? How are you going to put Americans back to work? And they've been holding the president and the candidate Romney, their feet to the fire. Like, hey, what are you guys going to do to make everything better for us Americans? And that's understandable. I like that. You know what? These guys need to have strong, clear visions, because they're supposed to be, if either one of those two guys are elected, they're going to be the leader of our nation. And they're going to be the one who's supposed to set the tone and set the tempo. And they're supposed to be the leader. And they're supposed to get us out of this really bad situation that we're in. The one thing that I find is it's completely nonsensical is the fact that people think, for whatever reason, that the president has got this magic wand and he can create jobs. And what we see through history is that the president's power is very limited. I mean, by and large, but not by and large, but by the scope of the Constitution, the president's power is very limited. Congress actually has more power than the president by the Constitution. However, because of just precedent, the presidential authority has grown and grown and grown. And after World War II, it expanded to the point it's at now. So now, no longer we have this balance of power between Congress and the executive branch. So the legislative branch and the executive branch are supposed to be equal. And now we see that we have very much like a figurehead. We've got ourselves a very strong, I don't want to call him a monarch, but we've got a powerful leader, the one guy that everyone sort of looks to for direction and leadership. And that one guy, they all expect to fix all the problems. That's his job, to fix all the problems. The problem that I see with that is that that's really not the president's job. The president's job is not to make jobs. Here, and this is why I say that, because the president, like I said, he's the one who's supposed to set the tempo. He's supposed to have a clear role in mind. He's supposed to have a clear path for the country, and he's supposed to see, he's the head of his party, so he's supposed to say, hey, look, this is what I want to do with my presidency, and these are the policies that I want to enact, and these are the things that I think would work best for the American people. And that goes, that could be a party-wide belief, or that could be just his belief, and it's got to trickle down to all his party members, and of course that's got to get out to the rest of the Senate. And that's my point, is that we are putting all this emphasis on one man to create jobs. And the president, now based on history going back to the Great Depression and the 30s, all the way through about 43 or so. So like 1929 all the way to about 1943-ish. That's about time, 44. That's about the time the U.S. market just took off, from all the war spending and people getting back into work. And so anyways, FDR put people to work during the Great Depression building bridges and roads and public works, and that's the authority that the president can do. He can do that, but he can't. I mean, he can he can invest money, federal money, which has got to go through appropriations committee, anyways, through the Senate or through Congress to get it to the companies. But he can advise that these companies get funded, and of course they'll hire people. So I mean, there are other ways, but his role is very limited. And what I find very interesting, this is the argument that I have with my dad, is like, hey, look, you Republicans, and I didn't call them that, I didn't say you Republicans, but I said Republicans have this belief that they want the federal government out of their business. They want small government. However, they keep harking on the president. What are you going to do to create jobs? How are you going to get us out of this depression that we're in? How are you going to get people back to work? How are you going to get the unemployment down? and they're expecting this one guy to do it. However, there are 100 senators in Congress. And I told my dad, I'm like, hey, look, if anyone, especially if you're Republican, if you want to pressure somebody to get jobs, you need to go from a federal level down to the state level, and these news networks got to stop harking on the president every single day and worry about the guys who actually make laws, pass laws, enact laws. Congress, the legislative branch of our government, the part of the government that writes bills, they argue about bills. I guess they should say they debate about it, but argue, debate, whatever. They have their discourse, and those are the guys who write the bills. They put them through. They pass them through with a majority vote through the House and through the Senate. And those go to the president to get either signed into law or vetoed. And if they get vetoed, they come back to the Congress, to the Senate. And then the Senate can override the president's veto. So the branch of the government that's really, for lack of a better term, fucking up is Congress, is the Senate and the House. Those guys are the ones who really need to get pressure put on them to do their damn job. And that's one thing I noticed, like these senators and these representatives, they are just jockeying through this fire that the president has been getting for a long time, but it seems to be ramped up the last, I don't know, since W. Bush, maybe since Clinton and his scandal. From then on, it was very, I'm 29, so it could have gone back further than that. I just don't know, because I'm not old enough to remember any president before HW. I kind of remember Ronald Reagan, but I was really young at that time. I was probably like 7 years old before he left office. And then HW Bush took over, and I remember HW Bush as kind of the first president that I remember. So anyways, I don't know if it goes on beyond that, but it's just, for me, it's like, why aren't we putting pressure on the senators to get the job done? Because they're the representatives of whatever state they come from, and those are the people who should be looking after their people, their constituents in the states. And it doesn't seem like that gets done. What I've noticed about politics right now is that instead of, hey, we the people want this, and they tell their representatives, and the representatives go up the chain of command, and they go up to the Senate and they say, boom, here's a bill from my state. This is what we want in my state. Let's make it happen. And of course, they got to get together with the other, say 98 senators, and talk about it. But that's not really the way it works. You see these guys go on TV and they say they got their piece of paper, and they're like going up to the news, the network news people, and they're like, hey, you know what? I've got this great plan, and we're going to introduce some sort of Medicare or some assault rifle ban or some lower taxes or whatever they want to put out there, whatever bill they want to put out there. They sell the American people on it. So the American people are being told what they should like, and they're not actually telling their representatives what they should do. So it's this weird sort of backwards kind of government we have got right now. And to be honest, it's really, we have got a governing class now in this country and everybody else. And that's kind of the way it looks. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's like moving towards an oligarchy, but you're getting to this point where, yes, the American dream is anybody can reach up and become president, as long as you're native and of the right age and all that sort, and have been here for the last 14 years and all the other requirements that are required to be president. But anybody can aspire and rise up from being the poorest of the poor to becoming the richest and the rich. So that social mobility is still there. But what we see is a governing class. And I know that's what dissuades a lot of people from going out and voting, because they're just like, it's the same thing all the time. I don't know why I bother to vote. My vote doesn't count, all this stuff. Well, your vote does count. Your vote does count. Maybe not so much on, say, a federal level with the president and the vice president and stuff like that. But your vote still counts for your representatives, the congressmen, the House of Representatives. And the biggest thing is on your local government, who you want to be your mayor, who you want to be governor of your state, what propositions you want passed, what bonds you want passed or failed. So there's a lot of reasons to vote, especially for your local government. So I do urge that people who, I don't want to say on the fence. I don't know who would be on the fence about voting. It's either you want to do it or you don't. But I really urge people to go out and make sure they vote, and make sure they vote not based upon party or whatever, but vote, make an informed decision. That's really what I'm always going to be getting at, especially when I get into education. My whole goal, and I got this from one of my professors, my whole goal is to make sure that people are informed and they make informed decisions, and they question and they reason and they analyze, and they just don't take things at face value. And that's what I see a lot with my parents. They watch Fox News and they just take everything that comes out of Fox News as face value. And I don't really watch the cable news networks. As I said, I'm not very political in the way of, say like my older brother, he watches Fox News and he watches MSNBC and he reads, and he's very into politics, and he can go just round after round with my dad, and that's fine, that's great. I don't really like doing that. I've got my own feelings about stuff, but then again, as I'm getting a little bit older, I realize, like, you know what, I kind of like the fight, you know, the argument and stuff like that, so I get kind of into it too. I'm just not as informed because I've got all sorts of other things going on, namely YouTube, and YouTube takes up so much time, and it takes precedent over politics and being a good American citizen, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, I kind of found that really long story, and I didn't really wanted to make such a long commentary at it. But I guess I really did touch on everything that I wrote down here, especially the big government thing. The big government thing is one thing that just kind of scratches my head right now. The other example that I do have, if you've got a minute and you want to hang out, the other example that I do have is abortion. You know, the people, they want these big governments to go away, big government, get out of my life, get out of my state. We want small governments. But then you get the people who are screaming for that are also the ones that want to make laws against abortion, and so they want to prevent a woman from having the choice to do what she wants with her body, so making it illegal to have an abortion. And that makes me scratch my head. I'm like, wait, what? You couldn't get more big government than making a law that outlaws something like abortion, like what a woman can or cannot do to her own body. You know, I mean, I think there are moral implications to abortion, but I don't think that there should be any sort of laws, you know, criminal laws that you can enforce because somebody wants to get an abortion. That one I scratched my head. I'm like, wait, what are you guys talking about? Like, how can you know, so that you got some hypocrisy in the whole matter too. So, anyways, I'm going way too far. I'm kind of interested to hear, for those of you guys who aren't American citizens, or I shouldn't say aren't in the United States, what's the political arena like where you come from? I mean, is it very similar? I don't have the BBC, so I have no idea what goes on in England. I'm kind of aware of Parliament, and you get the House of the Lords and the House of Commons, and apparently there's a strong third party, and I think the Prime Minister is currently a third party member. So that's sort of my inspiration to maybe the United States will have ourselves that Libertarian Party might rise up one day and compete with these other, you know, the Republicans and the Democrats, and we'll have a better choice for president one day. You know, someone that fits. And I have a feeling that, you know, once we get that first Libertarian president, or whatever they call themselves when it happens, but once we get that first moderate who wants to take a moderate road and compromise, the thing that the United States is most successful at, in the past has been most successful, as compromise. That's how we got our Constitution. We compromised, and now we're not compromising anymore, and it's really frustrating, and it's really scary because people are getting really angry at both sides right now for either inaction or just being too, quote, loony. Bill O'Reilly likes to use the term loony, the loony left, or being too much a pinhead or a patriot or whatever the other name calling that's been going on. I mean, the muckraking is nothing new. It's been going on for a very long time, but it's getting tiresome now, you know, especially when we're in a situation, probably worldwide too, you're in a situation where you really need things to get done. However, things aren't getting done because there's too much politicking going around. That's got to stop, you know, and we got to really work on solving these issues and not worrying about what the best one course of the country is, because the way I see it, it's the same as economy, it's the same as religion, it's the same as obviously government and politics. I mean, these are all man-made, and if you believe that, I'll take religion out of that. I mean, if you believe that religion is divine, my apologies for insulting But I'm just saying that there are these things. I mean, spirituality, I can say, is different than like an organized religion. Organized religion is that the man-made body of faith-based religions. So that's why I throw it in there. But you've got these man-made organizations, and they have one path, and they think that's the only path. When the options are out there, you can do all these different things if you really put your mind to it. So anyways, guys, I really, like I said, I hope you guys went out and voted today, or are going out to vote. I already voted, and in the comment section, let me know if you guys voted or not, and if you didn't vote, let me know why, as much as you can fit into the comment section, or you can elaborate, and I'd really enjoy reading some of these comments and sort of getting into a nice discussion in the comment section, again, about the things that we hold dear to our hearts, which is us. I don't want to say politics, because I know a lot of people don't really hold politics near and dear to their heart. So anyways, guys, sorry for the long Tuesdays with Tony, but I thought this was very much a commentary that I was looking forward to doing all day today. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll talk to you guys later.